As a kid, I remember coming to services and the words saying, "Oh God, I come back another year. I come back before you, ready to do such good things, and yet at times I still stumble. At times I am incomplete and make mistakes. But I'm here now, God, and as I wrestle all year long, I'm here now because I still care." I would add that serving in the world, I also think there should be an asterisk with that, saying, "And God, I'm not really sure what you are. I'm not really sure how to fully communicate with you. But I know when I'm here, I know when I reflect, that I feel that divine spark within me. I have hope that I can go through the teshuvah process. Even though I don't know what's going to happen in the future, I believe that if I reflect, thinking about how I've lived over the last year, if I realign, take these days of the high holidays, and really think about how I live life to make the most out of it, that then in truth, I can be true in action. That I don't just pray and I don't just reflect, but I go out into this world. In a way, that's really what the high holidays are about. I learned last weekend at the wonderful community slichot that Rav Kook, the first chief rabbi of Israel, said that repentance is really, teshuvah is really self-actualization. So to me, self-actualization is very simple, but nothing simple. It's always simple to say, very hard to do. But reflect, realign, and act. And as I thought about this, I thought that this relates on the personal level, but also on a communal level. It's really hard. There's a lot of big problems in our world. There's poverty, the environment, there's immigration issues. There's all these things that as individuals, we feel so small, so like lack of influence, that it's really governmental policies or things much bigger than ourselves. And yet, I believe this process of reflection, realignment, and action can actually give us tools to deal with big things. For example, like Israel. The last few weeks and even over the last few months, many of us have been reading the challenges going on in Israel. It's heartbreaking. When I think back that this is the 30th anniversary of the Oslo Accords this week, I remember myself, a teenager in the 90s. Don't hold it against me. A teenager in the 90s, where I remember the shakings of the hands between Yitzhak Rabin and Yasser Arafat. And my young 13-year-old self said, "Peace is around the corner." I went on family trips to Israel. I studied a few times when I was in high school, going there for a couple months. And when I was there was an excitement. There was a belief that anything was possible. And then, with the assassination of Yitzhak Rabin by a right-wing Jewish extremist, that hope began to be dashed, followed by fighting and mistrust, even leading to the Second Intifada. I was there during the Second Intifada. I lived in Israel for 2 years. I saw the danger of hate. Hate on all sides just hurts us. So I began to be disillusioned. I gave up thinking, no matter how much I love Israel, I don't agree with some of its policies. What can I do? So I focused on my rabbinical studies, built a family, and served congregations. And yet, none of my hopes, none of my struggles were ever resolved. Avoidance is never the solution to the problem. And for me, just saying, you know what, Israel, you stay there, I stay here, I love you, but I don't know how to dance with you, never made me feel better. So recently, when I heard colleagues, congregants, and friends and families talk about their disillusionment with Israel, hearing about the lack of pluralism, how the right-wing government is being unchecked, how there's almost a civil war going on with Israelis every week protesting in the streets, tens of thousands. It's disheartening, and I empathize. I empathize that if you love Israel, this is a very hard time. That there's a lot of policy mumbo-jumbo, and it's really hard to figure out the details. But in summary, there's a government that has an agenda. And the majority of the people, some might support it a little bit, some not at all, but they're struggling to figure out what does it mean to be a Jewish democracy. And that is real. Personally, I'm turning to that reflection, realignment, and action. My realignment is control what we can. It's easy to wish we could solve all the world problems, but we only can control a little piece of the pie in the world. This last summer, we had a friend of our congregation, Rabbi Gabby Dagan, who's a Reform rabbi up in Haifa, come and visit us. And this was when the law got passed and there was huge protests in the streets. And he said, "My heart's broken. My heart's broken. I can't believe the country I love, what's happening." And when we talked, and I told him, "We care. We're there for you," he said, "That makes a difference." So for me, the silver lining in this cloud is two. One, Israel's maturing as a nation. No longer are the conversations just about existential threats, the relationships between Palestinians and Israelis. It's about what does it mean to be a true democracy, where minorities have rights, where majorities have voices, where a community works together to bring the entire community around the table. Israel's 75 years old. A few years ago, we were struggling with this. We constantly struggle. Democracy is imperfect. Let us hope that Israel can work through these things. The second silver lining for me, up until now, the American Jewish community or the North American Jewish community has been told, "You're that nice cousin who comes over Shabbat. Sit at the table and just nod your head with whatever I say." That's kind of how Israel has treated American Jewry. Come visit, donate money, but you don't serve in the military, you don't live through terrorism, you don't get to have a voice. That is changing. Israelis are more open to learn from us of how we have democracy. They're more open to us to understand that we are partners in this process. So therefore, I ask you to act. There's a few actions we can do. One, very simple one. Temple Israel has the Israel Action Committee. We have great speakers, workshops, and conversations. Come and learn about the nuance. You will not get demagoguery. You will not get partisanship. You will just have a safe place to learn more about Israel. Two, it is up to us to help build the future we want for Israel. That means get involved, donate, go visit. Really think about how you want to connect to Israel. For some, it might just be human-to-human contact, writing an email to a friend who lives there, picking up the phone. People need to know that they're not alone. When you are struggling and when you feel despair, having somebody reach out to you and say, "I care, let's talk," can heal the heart. And three, let us build the next generation of Israelis who believe in democracy, who believe in Jewish pluralism, minority rights, and true beauties and freedoms of the state. I invite you to join me as I lead a congregational trip in February 2025. Not around the corner, but it gives us the opportunity to really think about what we're doing, to save up money and really be prepared to go, so that it's not a tour, but it's a person-to-person exchange where we're connecting to Israel. If you can't join me, Find a time that works for you. Go to Israel. If you've never been, it is transforming. The diversity of Jewish life is something you cannot picture. And they need to know that us American Jews are as solidly Jewish as they are. Sometimes they think us Reformim, as they call us, Reformed Jews, are like being Jewish. And it's up to us to show them that we are authentic Jews as much as anybody else. We don't say that in defense. We say that with love. We are Amcha, one people. And it's up to us to not give up when life is tough. Let us reflect, realign, and act so that we may be God's partners in making our lives in Israel a better world. May we find peace and hope. May we find love and patience. And may we never give up. Ken Yiratzon, may this be God's will.